Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the cold desert biome. It is important to distinguish between cold and hot deserts because in many ways they are similar. They're both dry and have little vegetation, but in many ways they're different. Cold deserts have extreme seasons that range from warm to hot to very cold, even frigid winters. The precipitation in the cold desert is also lower, but because the temperature is lower, there's less evaporation, and therefore the precipitation is more effective. That's why you'll often see more plants in the cold desert than the hot desert. It is also important to know that polar deserts, if they have ice, are just considered ice biomes and not considered cold deserts. If they have no ice and plants, they are considered tundras, which are not deserts, even though they may be as dry as deserts. And if no ice or plants, they're just considered bare, there's nothing there. Some people may consider Mars to be a cold desert, but this is complicated as Mars doesn't really have enough atmosphere to have rain anyway, or have water except for very cold snow anyway. So it's not really a desert, it's just cold and can't sustain water in the first place. On this map you can see where the cold deserts are. It's the darker light tan. It's hard to distinguish from the hot desert, but you can see there's a good amount in North America, there's a lot in South America, there's a lot in Central Asia and Northeast Asia. More of like a Central East Asia than that, but then there's a pretty good amount in a few other places scattered around. And then there's even a tiny amount in southern Africa. In terms of animals, I'm not really going to go into too much detail, but in the cold desert, animals are pretty much the same as in the hot desert, except they will have adapted to withstand the much harsher winters. In some very cold parts of the cold desert, like in the McMurdo dry valleys, there will be pretty much no animals except for occasionally some lost seals or penguins. Cold deserts will often overlap with steppes, which is why Central Asia and Mongolia are dominated by both cold deserts and steppes, but it's often just simply referred to as the steppe. The driest places in the world are actually in the cold deserts. They are the Valle de Luna in the Atacama Desert and Taylor Valley in the McMurdo Dry Valleys near McMurdo Station. One of these places has not seen rain in 400 years, and another has not seen rain in millions of years. That is something. Because cold deserts often border or overlap the alpine regions, hot deserts, or steppes, and even tundras, there will often be a lot of crossovers between species of the different biomes. So you'll find lots of large, furry, drought and cold-tolerant mammals like camels, antelope, goat antelope, alpacas, and many other similar mammal species. You can also find lots of types of birds. You can find saiga, which are critically endangered. Horses did actually originate in the steppe and cold desert biomes. Wolves. You can even find insects like locusts, mosquitoes, and bumblebees. Cold deserts, similar to steppes, are usually dominated by grass, shrubs, and occasionally small trees. But many other small plants, as well as flowers. There are many different types of cold desert, but I'm not going to go into too much detail. There are also cold pseudo-deserts, like, for example, the Carcross Desert in Yukon Territory, Canada. There's also arid steppe tundra, and alpine desert. The steppe tundra is nowhere near as big as it used to be. During the last glacial maximum, it stretched from Spain and France all the way to eastern China and northeastern Asia. Some parts of the steppe tundra even crossed Beringia, making their way into North America, and were between the Rockies and Cascade Range, as well as pretty big parts in modern-day Yukon and Alaska. There are still a few parts of the mammoth steppe that have been left untouched. Of course, there are no mammoths, but there are large furry mammals that take their place. Any decently alpine or cold region with a lot of megafauna in the Eurasian steppe can still be considered a fragment of what was once the largest land biome on Earth. Some parts of Tibet, which you can be arrested for calling a country, is still considered mammoth steppe, also known as steppe tundra, but it's not really the same as it once was.